This is my 1800 running with 34 EPC carbs. All right, thanks for joining the Retro Rockets garage and dropping in. Here we're today working on the old Beetle Baja Bug, the old 1911 CC Type 4 powered Baja. So today we're actually working on twin carburetors, Weber 34 ICT carbs, but actually these are the ones I'm going to show you that I have are EMPI EPC, but it's basically a copycat on the Weber. Okay, we're going to go through the jetting on them and how to do the jets technically. So stand by and keep watching, subscribe and like the channel. That'd be greatly appreciated to enable us to do more do-it-yourself technical videos that might help you out. All right, so here we are on the workbench looking at the 2316cc Type 4 engine that I'm building with the Seiko upright conversion. I don't really have a place for this engine to go yet. I'm kind of looking around. It's an engine that, of course, is upright, as you can see, and therefore will fit into, you know, standard Beetles, Super Beetles, Porsche 912s. You know, I'm looking around for another project, and we'll see what I can find that's out there that this engine might end up going into. Or it can go in the old Baja too. Maybe next year, next winter, I'll take the 1911 out and go for more power. So, you know, it's nice to have options, and it's a hobby of mine. So, basically, this is showing you the installation of the 34 ICT type carburetor on the dual port cylinder heads of the Type 4 engine. So it has a huge air cleaner on. I'm experimenting with different air. I don't really like the small air cleaners that are available for these one barrel carburetors. So I experimenting with this arrangement here. So this is an Edelbrock air cleaner, and it's basically for a 4-barrel or a wide 2-barrel carburetor, like a muscle car carburetor. But using the old bases from the SIP1 Chinese air cleaners, it interfaces quite nicely. And you can use the same crossbar that's supplied with the Edelbrock kit to bolt it down to the SIP1 base. That's off the round style SIP1 chrome air cleaners that you can pretty much get from SIP1. Okay, so something I'm thinking about doing, but just to let you know, that's what I'm thinking about. And then this kind of shows the typical installation below the air cleaner of the ICT type carburetor. Now this is a carburetor that came off my 1800cc engine, and I gotta say they work great. So this carburetor has not even been cleaned yet. It's just as removed from the 1800cc that was in the Baja Bug before I installed the 1911cc that I've just got running. Here's the other carburetor that I took off the other side, and this one's been Varsol washed and cleaned on the exterior, so it looks a lot nicer. Getting all that carbon off, etc. And you can see here it's an EMPI. They marked the accelerator pump and also the pump body there, EMPI. And I think there's some nice EMPI logos on the top. There it is there. And on the fuel bowl there. And then down here there's some writing that says EPC 34. Okay, so the EPC carburetors are a little different on the jetting than the Webers. I think primarily because the venturi on these carburetors is bigger. I think the Webers are typically 27 and 28 millimeter venturi size, and the EPC is 29 millimeters, so it's a little bit bigger on the EPC. Maybe more well suited to the Type 4 engines, a larger engine. Meaning to say, you know, if you go by the Venturi size tables, you can go all the way to a 2300 cc engine with a 29 millimeter vent. But the maximum recommended RPM is going to be 4,500. So meaning to say after 4,500 RPM, because the engine's quite large, drawing in a big volume of air or air-fuel mixture, it's going to start to choke at 4,500 RPM. In other words, the air going through the smallest point, which is a Venturi, is going to start to reach supersonic speeds. And then once a nozzle chokes or a Venturi chokes, you can't pass any more air through it, no matter how hard you suck downstream of the Venturi. Okay, so and that's with that 29 millimeter vent with 4,500 RPM being like kind of like a good RPM to shoot for street driving, where you're not really going to rev the engine up to 5,500 or 6,000 RPM all the time. You probably might get away with a 29 millimeter vent. Okay, so that's like the maximum size you could think about doing with the 34 EPC carburetor. Of course, you'd have to jet it accordingly. I'll go through that a bit later in the video. So you're going to want to get a toothbrush and some carb cleaner and clean down the bore, okay? And try and reach all the nooks and crannies and clean it up nicely if it's a used unit. And here you can see I've done that. It's nice and shiny inside there, nice and clean. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is clean the inside. So what you want to do is you take the top plate off with there's 4 screws, and you just use a straight tip, flat tip screwdriver, and you take the bolts out. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 bolts, and then once you get the bolts out, the plate lifts straight up. Okay, and it includes the float and the top of the throttle body or the intake. And there you can see it comes off now. And there's the float, so it's a little bit dirty, needs some cleaning. And the gasket looks in pretty good shape. And the float chamber as well needs a good cleaning. And we'll take the jets out now, the main jet, and clean that as well. All right, I've got the top plate propped up on a little parts bin here, and gravity is pulling the float down and to push the needle in. So here's the action of the float itself. It's basically works like your toilet, up and down. Okay, so what I want to do now is measure it in millimeters with the gasket on to the very top of the float. Okay, and then move it all the way up and make the same measurement. It's hard to do with one hand, but you get the idea. All right, I don't have a macro lens, so please bear with me. For the float open measurement, you can just hold it level in your hand and then measure from the gasket to the bottom, or the top of the float rather, and then check it to the specifications. You can bend the little tiny metal tab in there to change the float height as needed. It's hard to see it in there. Try and get the light on it. You see the little metal tab that comes up against the needle valve, the top of the needle valve. You can just gently tweak that tab to get you the dimensions that you need to have. All right, we got the idle jet removed now and cleaned up. I use a carb cleaner and blow it out on the inside diameter and clean up the outside diameter, and then you can see the jet size written on the side of the jet, and you can use that, a magnifying glass as well. And then this one here says it's a 55 idle jet. You can remove the other jets with a flat tip screwdriver in order to clean them properly. And you can look through them like you're looking through a small telescope at a light bulb to see if they're nice and clean. You'll see a nice round hole that you're looking through that's nice and clear and there's no restrictions. Um, Assembly is just opposite to the removal. There's a diagram here showing all the parts, a breakdown. You can put it together after you've selected your jetting in accordance with the charts that I've supplied. I have my own for the EPC carburetors, so you can look at that. And also the Weber ICT carburetors, I'm supplying some tables there that are off the internet, so I haven't done those myself. So you can use those as a guide. Considering your engine size and the modifications to your engine, you'd select what you need to run, and then use that as a starting point and go up or down, perhaps one size based on your carburetor tuning. For what I'm showing here on the EPC jetting in my handwriting, in brackets are the jets that were supplied in the kit that I purchased from EMPI, which was for 1700 to 2000 cc engines. Again, in brackets, those spare parts are the jets that are to be installed on the 2000 cc engine. And I ran the jetting as it was for the 1.8 liter engine that I had, which was pretty much a stock engine with a nice exhaust system and an 009 distributor, and it ran excellent. So I think that's a good starting place for the 1.8 and the 2-liter engines. And of course, if you want to go bigger, then you'd have to jet the idle and mains accordingly. Here in the black table is the baseline settings for the Weber ICT, and EPC EMPI 34s are basically the same, except I start the mixture screws at 1.5 turns out. Okay, then what I'll do is start the engine, make sure the timing's correct, and then run it, and then see how she idles by screwing in the idle screw from the baseline setting until it starts running rough. Then I turn it out about 1 turn, a half to 1 turn out, until it smooths out the idle. Then I'll adjust the idle speed with the idle speed screw to exactly 1000 RPM. If I had to turn the mixture adjustment screw out by more than 2.5 turns, then I know that the idle jet is too small and I have to go up one size on the idle jet and readjust the mixture. Now go see how she runs, and off the idle and into the RPM. It's important to realize that our engines actually run on the idle jet for a while during like just street driving the engine. The idle jets are not only used during the actual idle, they're also used at RPM as you're coming up on power. So, and then the carburetor will transition from the idles to the mains. Okay, so that's an area you got to look at uh, during low RPM, like as you're accelerating through the lower power band. If you're getting a popping through the carburetor, you're running too rich. If you're getting some backfiring through the exhaust, then you're running too lean. Okay, so you got to pay close attention to that, and you might have to rejet the idle jet one size up or down depending on what you want to do, lean out the engine or richen it a little bit depending on your engine performance. And then the transition from the idle to the main, you're looking at that in terms of, okay, is it like bogging down? Is it a rich bog? Like, does the engine sound really busy? And, are you getting some popping through the carburetor to suggest you're too rich on the transition? Or, is it backfiring again from the exhaust at higher RPMs as you're transitioning into the mains? Or do you have this big rich flat spot? And then you have to jet your main jet up or down depending on what's happening there to make that transition easier. Maybe you need more fuel, maybe you need less, depending on your engine performance. Okay, and the other thing to look for is at the very top end, wide open throttle, full power. You want to do a spark plug read, like, run it on a road that's not too busy at high power, and then pull over right away, shut the engine off right away, and then pull a plug and do a plug read and see, is it too rich or is it lean? Is it white hot? And then you might have to change your main jet accordingly. Okay, so that's how you jet an engine. Well, okay, that should give you enough to go on to get started on the path to righteousness. And thanks for coming by the Retro Rocket Garage. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give us a like. Come on, guys, and subscribe to the channel. That would help me out to make future videos like this one that might help other people. So, again, thanks for coming by. Thanks for visiting today.